More terrible news, sort of a depressing first segment today. Police in Toronto have arrested a man who drove a white van onto a sidewalk in the northern part of Toronto, killed 10 people, injured 15. The details are more or less what you would expect. A totally chaotic scene, a damaged van, injured and dead people sprawled across the sidewalk, glass, debris, police everywhere. Notable is that when police showed up, and there's video of this, the suspect appeared to be pointing a handgun at police and actually saying, "Shoot me in the head." And Toronto police did not shoot the guy. And the guy actually says, "I have a gun in my pocket," takes out what could have been a gun, wasn't a gun. It's been reported that it was actually a mobile phone, said, "Shoot me in the head." And police didn't shoot the guy and ultimately were able to take him into custody. At another point, it really does seem like this was an attempt for suicide by cop by this alleged perpetrator. And it is very, very difficult to imagine that in the hands of many police departments, this ends up with anything other than a dead suspect, right? I think it is actually, in the midst of what is a horrible tragedy, a sort of interesting footnote that this is a suspect that would have ended up dead if confronted by many other police departments and was taken into custody. And maybe, hopefully, we will eventually learn of the motive, which we don't yet know, right? There's a tentative identification of the alleged shooter. He's a 25-year-old male. We do know that, generally speaking, the use of vehicles to kill people on sidewalks recently has been sort of the calling card of the MO of radical Islamic terrorists. We will see what ultimately turns up here. We don't know if that's ultimately going to be the case here. And the only thing that we know at this point is, number one, police say that this was deliberate, not an out-of-control car or someone may be having some kind of a medical incident leading them to inadvertently drive up onto a curb. In case anybody thought those were probabilities, police are saying this was definitely deliberate. And what is being reported is that a message was posted to a Facebook account believed to belong to the driver earlier yesterday, which said, quote, "All hail the supreme gentleman, Elliot Roger," which is very, very creepy to say the least. Elliot Roger, if the name rings a bell, was the 22-year-old who back in May of 2014 killed 6 people and injured 14, sort of near the campus of UC Santa Barbara, when he stabbed 3 men to death in his apartment, then went to a sorority house and shot 3 female students, killing 2 of them, then went to, I believe it was a deli, and shot dead a male student inside, sped through a nearby area, shooting and wounding more pedestrians, hitting others with his car, exchanging gunfire with police at 2 different points during the attack, and eventually crashing his car into a parked vehicle and being found dead after a self-inflicted shotgun wound. So if accurate, the fact that the suspect in the Toronto case yesterday seemed to be praising another mass killer is disturbing, and it's also a little bit of a window into the type of incident that this appears to be. And there's one other interesting statement in a CNN article about this, and it references men's rights activism as a possible catalyst for this incident. And the men's rights activists are losing their minds online about this. The quote from the CNN article is that investigators said Roger was motivated to carry out his attack by a personal grievance related to his immersion in the extremist ideological subculture of men's rights activists who believe women don't actually want gender equality and have been brainwashed by feminist propaganda. And men's rights activists online are saying, wait a second, why in an article that's supposedly mostly about yesterday's shooter are you talking about the alleged men's rights activist views of the guy from 2014? It doesn't make any sense, and I don't know that I have too much else to say about that, but interesting that that seems to be what has completely triggered the men's rights activists online. We will see what else we learn about this incident. We will see what else we learn about the motive, but I think if there's any good news at all in what are 2 really horrible stories over the last 24 hours, number 1, the Waffle House shooting in Tennessee, number 2, this vehicular murder, effectively, in Toronto, the only bit of good news that I can point to is that both suspects were taken alive, and that provides potentially a different ability to debrief and to gain insight into what it is that took place here. Very, very sad incidents. I welcome your thoughts. I'm on Twitter at @Pakman. The show is on Twitter at David Pakman Show. We will take a quick break and be back after this. Today's program is sponsored in part by Futuur. Futuur is a social forecasting game where players come together and compete with each other to predict future events. You open up the game on your phone or web browser, you'll see a whole range of forecasts covering topics across the board, politics, sports, so much more. You wager on predictions about real-world events using Futuur's in-game fake currency, and you earn more of this currency every time you make a prediction that comes true. You can show off your prediction skills to friends, improve your forecasting ability. I'm even on Futuur. You can find my account by clicking the link in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. And this week on Futuur, I posed the question, will Robert Mueller's Trump-Russia investigation end during this year, during 2018? What do you think? Place your bets, and you can sign up now at Futuur.com and start making your forecasts on political topics and so many other topics. It's free, and it's available on both Android and iOS, as well as on web browsers. That's Futuur.com.